Hey everybody, Ray Donovan is back for 2019. We are going to be touching on episodes 9 through 11 today with an emphasis on 11. All the Donovans are sort of back together, so stay tuned as we discuss the last 3 weeks of Ray Donovan.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
We definitely wanted to start on this song because episode 11, Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Yep. I was so excited when they actually danced this song.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm Rachel Goodman. Thank you for tuning in for Ray Donovan Season 6, Episodes 9 through 11, this recap. Erika,
Well, what's up, party people?
Yes.
I'm Erika Edwards. These episodes, they're getting dark, and they're getting dark fast.
Yeah.
But that's why we love them. So, I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
So what we figured we'd do today, since we have a lot of content to cover, we're just going to briefly go over our thoughts for 9 and 10, and then we're going to do a deeper analysis of 11. Also, stay tuned later on in the show. We're going to have our quote segment and our other special segment for the news to talk about everything going on Ray Donovan. So, on that note, Erika, what did you think of, we can just kind of lump it together, 9 and 10 and everything that happened?
They were fun over the Christmas break. It was interesting that Ray decided to meet with the mayor, and it was interesting that he wore a wire, but then also I liked the fact that he had his own backup.
Yeah.
So that was really great. Although I knew once he gave it over to Sam, he was like never gonna, that was never gonna end well. But it was a pretty interesting episode. I love that, that he had to tape the mic to his taint, I believe. So there's that. But yeah, you do what you have to do when you're undercover. So
Yeah.
cool.
I think for me, the most shocking part of it was when they kidnapped Bridget, and not only that, but the way that Mac treated her, and the episode called Baby, episode 10, where they had a lot of, they didn't exactly reference it, but they were, Mac and Bridget were watching Dirty Dancing, and so
right.
the fact that they would call it Baby, it's definitely a play into that, and I think it was heartbreaking for me to watch Bridget when she made the comment about how Dirty Dancing reminded her of her mom, and how Mac would be such, a jerk that he wouldn't even take that into consideration. Like, I get that he had to kidnap her for a reason, but he didn't have to treat her the way he did. It was it was almost psychotic, the way that he had kidnapped, not just the way he kidnapped her, but the way he was treating her. And I didn't know at first. I thought that it was going to be one of those things where he kidnapped her and he's like, hey, be quiet, because he was just going along with them so that he could get her out. At first, that's what I thought it was, because you can sense that Mac does want to do good, but
Right.
then when he hit her and when he was just being abusive, that was when it was like, all right, no, I lost any kind of redeeming he could have had for himself was lost in that scene.
Yeah, I agree. I think slapping her was definitely over the top. Although, I get it that it reminded her of her mother, Dirty Dancing or whatever, but I'm like, okay, toughen up, Bridge. Your dad is basically a mobster, so get with the program. So she, with her, I love her, but I think she and Connor sometimes kind of their whole sort of trying to be sheltered type nature can sometimes be irritating. But yeah, overall, I think she was cool. I liked this. I did not like him slapping her, and because to me, I thought she was going to do more to sort of talk her way out of it. So then when she just started screaming and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I thought that was I get that she'd be going through a lot of emotions, but I thought it was stupid that she would scream like that, because who's gonna...
Right, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know better than that. Like,
Yeah.
why are you screaming? So that
Yeah.
part, I was kind of like, ugh, okay, come on, Bridge, get with it.
Yeah.
So,
And unfortunately, he had the upper hand, so you don't know what he's gonna do.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we kind of ended, that was the biggest things that happened in those episodes. The only other thing to really mention is we had some scenes with Sam. It was really heartbreaking to see Ray kind of get away from those guys, not only just get away from them, but I think the heartbreaking thing for me was to see just how injured he was physically and emotionally, and to see this fire like light from inside of him when he found out that Bridget had been taken. But it just seemed like a very low point for him, like the lowest I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was definitely tough, that scene where he like jumps out the window and the broken glass and all of that was like so traumatizing. And it was, you know, it was interesting because Mac kind of had to excuse me, is now playing both sides, and it's just crazy how quickly it spiraled out of control and all this. Sometimes I'm kind of shocked that Ray doesn't really, in some of the episodes and even in tonight, like Ray doesn't kind of get that the cops are probably like following him or watching him and stuff. That part was kind of like a little surprising to me, I think, in a couple of the episodes where it's like, okay, yeah, like to me, I didn't understand why they didn't think that when Ray went to meet with the mayor that there wouldn't be someone kind of watching it and following them and everything. So I wasn't, you know, there were a few times where I felt like Ray was kind of taking chances that were unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I just feel like the last, even episode 11 that we're about to get to, we're really seeing like Ray's trying to hold it together, but I feel like he's at a breaking point,
right?
And especially when we get into 11, they kind of touch on that a little bit more. But I think that's a good time for us to jump into 11 here. We start off with Ray, Mickey. We pick up with them driving with Daryl in the back seat. They kind of just show really, like, I just want to touch on it because it was a really interesting shot. When they opened up the episode, all we saw was we saw the rear view mirror, and we just saw a picture of Ray's, like we saw the reflection of Ray's face in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how they angled out and showed the shot. And I just thought that was really a brilliant way to kind of take us back in. And we just see really quickly that, you know, even when, like, first of all, I like seeing Mickey and Ray teaming up again. Yeah. Not that they are teaming up, like, you know, permanently, but it just is interesting to note that when it comes down to family, even Mickey and Ray will get together if it means saving another part of their family and getting, you know, Bridget in this case, out of danger. So it was interesting to see Mickey kind of being fatherly in episode 10, but also in, you know, parts of 11 when we saw him with Ray. I know Mickey has done some really bad things, but in these last couple of episodes, I've actually kind of felt like Mickey was being very fatherly to Ray in this world, as fatherly as you can be.
Right. And that was kind of nice. I mean, I think Jon Voight is just an amazing actor, and it's kind of interesting to see him and Ray team up together, because I think that although they are so different, they have so many things that are alike in how they think and how they move. So I think it's interesting to see them. It was really interesting in episode, I want to say 10, where, you know, Mickey tells them, like, if they took one of ours, it's war. We have to take one of theirs. And Ray kind of follows that suggestion, and they kidnap the police officer.
Yeah.
And so that was really, I mean, it is kind of nice to see them come together. I think I've been surprised these past couple of episodes that for whatever reason, Ray chose not to include Terry. And I wasn't really clear on that, like why he wouldn't include. It seemed like he rounded up everyone but Terry. So I wasn't sure about that.
Well, and here's the thing too, and I think it's a good time to touch on this because the rest of the episode really involved Ray or Mickey. Terry, I guess let's just talk about Bunchy and Terry. So I found it interesting. They obviously got Bunchy. He was being interrogated by the FBI agent. The FBI agent went to see Terry, and Terry went in and tried to talk Bunchy into, you know, basically giving away Mickey and turning him in. And I didn't realize just how against Terry, or just how against Mickey Terry was becoming. Right. It just seems like Ray was always the one who was really the most, like, you know, gung-ho against his father. But now Terry, it's like, yeah, I didn't realize, like, I could see in that interrogation scene, I could see, I could feel the hate coming from Terry toward Mickey. And not even, you know what, I don't even want to say hate. I take that back, because it was almost like Terry felt so negatively toward his dad that it's like he doesn't feel anything. Like, it just is what it is, and he just is not connected to this person at all.
Exactly. And I think we saw some of that when Mickey first went to Terry and it was like, okay, I want you to call Ray.
Yeah.
Before, Mickey shows up at Ray's apartment or whatever. And yeah, Terry is just like done. And it's interesting because now he's willing to, to lose Mickey, to turn Mickey in, to do whatever. And, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. We do have some comments in the chat here, too. So we have Susan Russo. Hi, Susan. I know her from the Y&R recap I do.
Oh, cool.
Susan Russo says, hi, Uncle Joe. I didn't know Rachel hosted the show. It's my first time here. Oh, Hubby Joe, she means. I enjoy the way she... Oh, thank you. I enjoy the way she hosts. But we have a couple other comments, too. Utk says Mac got drunk and lost control. And then Frank S says Ray wasn't at his best game. Mickey was awesome on how he stood by his son to free his granddaughter. Yeah, so definitely.
I totally agree with all of those.
Yeah. And then Frank says my favorite quote, what I wanted to ask for years. Are you on the spectrum? Then why do you act like you are? And that's a good place to mention that quote, because it was the FBI agent asking that. And it really got me thinking, too, because, Bunchy, like, he's just been so affected by trauma and the things that have happened to him. One of the things he said was, my life ended 30 years ago. And to me, I was guessing that that's when the abuse from the church happened to him. Right. And that's what he meant by that. And so it was interesting to note, like, we don't know if Bunchy is on the spectrum or anything, but it could also be that when a person goes through so much trauma, they just can't, like, it's not even, like, you're not on, like, it's just, once you go through that, you can't, like, certain things you can't ever get over. And True. It helps you, like, if this happened to him when he was 10, it's just obviously he never developed beyond a certain point because of how traumatic that event was.
Very true. Although, in reference to that quote, I kind of interpreted it a different way, because she's like, okay, are you on the spectrum? And, why are you acting like you are, when in fact he's doing probably the smartest thing he's ever done, which is to never talk to the police.
Yeah.
So that part, like, to me, I just found it so ironic. Like, yeah, of course the FBI is going to tell you that, but, like, you're an idiot if you tell them anything, because, I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously she was doing it just to get him to talk and to be, like, nasty to him, because everything she was saying was, like, everything she was saying was just to be rough, to get him to come out and talk.
Or not even to be rough. Like, to me, I feel like clearly because even the stuff about Maria or whatever, it's like, yeah, if you bring down Mickey, you're probably going to bring down yourself. Like, there's nothing to be gained by talking. And honestly, Ray might find a way to get you out. So I think him not talking and the fact that he was even willing or even able to still not say anything after she sent Terry in there.
Yeah.
This is like the strongest Bunchy has ever been, I think. So I really like that he's standing his ground on that and not sending, Mickey up the river. And,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, too, is that there's no guarantees that Bunchy's going to be safe anyway. So, I mean, Terry, like, when he talked to the agent, I love how they kind of bring this in, too, because now we've got Terry. Like, even when Ray is okay with Mickey, we have Terry who's about to be against Mickey. But I just found it really interesting that they kind of threw this in with Terry saying, hey, give Bunchy, are you gonna, like, let Bunchy off, like, and make it a little bit easier for him if I get Mickey? And just the fact that Terry would go out and do this and Bunchy is like, no, like, I'm not gonna say anything. I am, like, you can just feel that Bunchy wouldn't go against his dad, and I feel like he's always been the brother that's been the most loyal to Mickey.
Right, exactly.
So it makes sense to me. It's very characteristic that he wouldn't talk in this situation. And he knew, too. He knew that we kind of sensed before that he was going to go turn himself in. So he knew that this was what would happen to him. He's not stupid. He is very aware that by doing this, by turning himself in, not that, before when he was going to turn himself in, he kind of expected what would happen to him, and that he'd be in there for a while. So we also have a couple more comments. Utk says Terry is against Mickey because of all that happened to Bunchy, and that makes sense. I was getting, like, a very brotherly, protective thing from Terry. How did you feel about that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that that's certainly true, but I also feel that Terry just carries a lot of anger towards Mickey from things that happened in their childhood, as they all do. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve it, or that Mickey didn't. Like Bungie said, Mickey did make mistakes, but Terry is definitely like not letting him slide on anything right now.
And then Frank S. says, I agree, Bungie came across strong for the first time in a while. So from there, so we touched on Bungie and Terry. We had a lot going on with basically there were 3 cops that ended up kind of dying in this episode. But first, what did you think of the scene with Mac's wife, Amber?
That was interesting. I mean, from that scene, that's when I realized, that's when I realized Mac is protecting Bridget, obviously. Yeah. So that was an interesting scene. And it was kind of interesting to see if he was almost to the point where he was going to kill her in front of her son, which it kind of looked like he probably would have if he didn't get the phone call. So that was kind of crazy. Like, he would have had to kill that little boy because obviously that little boy knows you held a gun to my mom's head and now she's dead. So so that scene was really tough because he was a friend of the family before that. So, and
I get the idea that even though it may never have happened like that to Amber before, I get the feeling that one of the reasons why she was always pushing Mac away was because he was always involved in things he shouldn't have been, and that he was maybe bringing it around the house more than he should have. I just got, from seeing this scene and from seeing how things played out, that's the feeling I was getting, that there was just, that Amber was kind of aware that he was doing dirty things and that she, maybe it put her in compromising positions before. So it was probably true. It was hard to watch, but okay, so we go from Amber. Fortunately, he got the call, and so she was beat up pretty badly, but obviously still alive. So at least it's, she still gets to be with her son, and hopefully no one else touches her. But
right, exactly.
Then we kind of go from there, and we have we had 2 different things going on at once. We had everything going on with Mac asking Ray to meet him down by the river. And we kind of knew from that whole thing getting out about Ferrari and Scholl that, one, I thought Ferrari was definitely the one who arranged to kidnap Bridget. So it was news to me that he didn't know about it.
I wasn't that surprised by it because these cops seem like they're just rogue kind of at this point anyway. And they were really trying to get leverage against Ray. So I'm not that surprised that they didn't keep, Ferrari in the mix of things. So that actually wasn't very surprising to me. What I was surprised with, though, was when, Mac talked to him and he was like, okay. So I kind of thought, okay, I knew he was going to, I knew he saved Bridget, but I also thought that he still was going to connect him to the mayor. So I was glad he didn't, obviously, but I really thought he was still going to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I thought that I didn't know what Mac was up to. I thought he was playing everyone, including Ray, especially when Ray actually goes and meets him. And Mac's just going on about how he looked up to Ray and how he thought, you and I could have been brothers. And I kept waiting for the but. I thought that Ray was going to show up and that Mac was going to actually deliver Ray to Ferrari. I thought that was where it was headed. And so I was like, you know what? Like, because Mac was even asking Ray if he was armed, and it just didn't sit well with me.
Right.
And so when Mac asked him to follow him, first I thought that there was going to be some, men pop out and just, shoot Ray or like injure him enough where they could take him. When that didn't happen, I thought when Mac said follow me, that they were going to end up going to basically ambush Ray. So that's kind of where I thought it was heading. Even when we got to the actual motel apartment, when Ray went into the room, I was still thinking that was what was going to happen, that it was a trick.
Yeah, I thought that, I think at that point, I definitely knew, I definitely knew he had protected and intended to protect Bridget, but I still felt like, okay, well, maybe because the mayor seemed like he wasn't really down with the whole Bridget kidnapping anyway. So I was like, well, maybe Ferrari and Bridget are in a room, and he's going to have to talk to Ferrari, and he's sitting there holding a gun on Bridget. That's actually what I thought. So I was kind of surprised that Matt kind of stayed true to Ray at the end. So that was cool.
I do love how they did it. I mean, I don't love that he killed himself, but I love that it was interesting how they showed how they, handled it, where we have Ray with Bridget, and then we see the conversation that Mac has with Amber saying, "Don't come home. We don't ever want to see you again, blah, blah, blah." And then when we see Ray and Bridget again, we hear the gun go off. And then when Ray and Bridget walk out, it was so powerful that they don't even look at the car. And we don't even see, like, we know what happened, obviously, and we see the blood but we don't actually, like, other shows, I feel like they might have actually either showed him doing it or showed the body afterward, but it was just very powerful that and very unique, that, to me anyway, that they just kind of glossed over it, but we knew.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and I think that at the end of the day, the police would have killed Mac anyway. So, I mean, it's better. I'm not going to say it's better, but, you have to make your choices. So.
Well, either the cops or Ferrari or someone was going to get him. Like, he was done.
Like, once he turned Bridget over to Ray, I think he was going to be done. Or he was probably going to be murdered. And in this respect, his family's probably saved.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so as this is happening, so Bridget gets back with Ray and she's safe. Meanwhile, we have a couple of scenes with Sandy and Schmitty. I thought they were really interesting. We actually got a lot of insight on Ray. That was one of the things that really stuck out to me. One, we had one of the cops that Mickey and Daryl had gotten was kind of just whatever, not handcuffed, but like tied up with a bag over his head, sitting
and duct tape.
But we had Sandy, who was basically like, well, Ray as a kid, he would get mad. He would literally hold his breath until he would pass out, or he would hit his head into things. And that apparently their mother, Mary, was the most worried about him than any of the other kids. And I just think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I agree. Although, I mean, I am so sick of Schmitty right now. Like, I know I'm wrong, but really, I thought that escape cop was going to kill him. And I was like, and it'll be a sad funeral, but I'll watch it. Because I was like, because right when he was on the phone, he told Bridget, "I love you." I was like, oh, the cop got away. He's going to kill him.
That's what I
thought too. No more Schmitty. But no. Schmitty is still among the living. So we have to deal with him another episode. He's just so, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want him to have cancer or whatever, but he was so much cooler when he was sick. I'm just going to say. I find him a little nerve-wracking and kind of like...
I think for me, the problem is, after he killed the guy, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." That would not be like, okay, like, obviously most people have not, like, had to be put in that situation, but I just feel like,
first of all, it was a poker, so you could have hit the guy on the head anyway. So, which is what I thought he was going to do. And I was like, you stabbed him?
That's what I
And then, that's the first thing. And so, it's like, Schmitty, stop it. You're getting on my nerves with this. Oh my gosh, I'm a beat your bum or something. Like, you sold drugs. Why are you acting like
he's probably been...
you weren't there with Ray stomping those people like 3 weeks ago? So you're killing me with this. He's just... I feel like she can do so much better.
Yeah. And the whole thing is that he just to stand there first after he stabbed the dude, and he just like. The guy, like, he wasn't obviously dead at first and starts walking toward him. I thought that he was going to take the poker stick out of his body and, like, stab Schmitty, and that was going to be...
You guys, I'm sorry. Don't think I'm evil. I was hoping that. Like, I was like, please let his dying breath be to also kill Schmitty. Like, I know Bridget will be mad at Ray, and she'll hate Ray for a few seasons, but I would be okay with that. Like, if it meant that we didn't have to watch one more second of Schmitty's wimpy behind, I would be so happy, like, for real.
Yeah.
So that was so funny, because I thought that too. I was like, ooh, he's going to stab Schmitty. It's not over yet. But no. But no.
And then I thought Schmitty was a goner though. So
my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Ray Donovan, your writers are amazing, but you know, y'all got to kill somebody. Let it be Schmitty. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. There's one more episode.
There's one more episode.
So you could get your wish.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly also, because I do feel like someone major. I mean, because I think, well, I guess they took out Abby. Like, you know, because I think every so often they do. Yeah. Have to take out somebody big in the cast. So. Until
they saved Bridget, I thought it was going to be Bridget.
Actually, what I thought, which I guess we still don't know yet because there's another episode, I actually thought it was going to be Mickey. I was like, if they take Mickey out, it would be nice to see him go out, like, teaming up with Ray. Yeah. So that's what I actually kind of thought. Like, if they're going to take Mickey out, that would be a good way to take him out. But so far, he's still with us, so that's a good thing.
I think really the biggest things to mention now, we already talked about Terry and Bunchy. I just want to talk about Bridget asking Ray to get help because I thought that was pretty powerful.
That was pretty powerful. And I'm liking the fact that, like, you know, Bridget is kind of, I don't know, being kidnapped has kind of like chilled her out a little bit. Yeah. So I think that she's kind of coming around and realizing that she does actually love her father. And I appreciate that a lot because she was kind of
like really the brat
from wherever and it was getting on my nerves. So I do like that she's kind of realizing that family is important and the value of family. So that was really a touching scene, I think.
Yeah. So on that note, why don't we go ahead and get to our special segment, Quotes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a couple. The first thing, I mean, I wrote down a lot of the different conversations, but I think the one that, one of them that really affected me was the Bunchy conversation in the interrogation room. Where she's like, where's your father? He goes, I don't know. Are you on the spectrum, Mr. Donovan? No. Then why are you acting like you are? And he goes, F you. And like, I just thought that was great. I also really loved a lot of the conversations that Sandy had. And
yeah, I had a few from Sandy as well, I think.
Oh, and then I'm sure like you and I were watching this together and we were both laughing. But the when Mickey goes back to the dead cop and grabs his keys, and they're cleaning up the body, and Daryl comes back with a quilt, and Mickey's like, what is this, Granny's quilt? And he's like, son, you're bleeding, you could be concussed. And then roll him up like a burrito.
That was, roll him up like a burrito is one I had. For Sandy, I had some children are destined for greatness or madness. Yeah, that one I really liked.
Great.
And then I really liked the Donovans are a special breed. I liked that one as well. And then I think I did have the roll 'em up as a burrito. And then she said, I'm going to deploy USS Brown shit. That was pretty funny.
That was hilarious.
That was like, I was like, really? Okay. Are we really doing poop jokes? Okay, Sandy. Yeah. And
I really liked Mickey when he was talking to Daryl. I know Ray better than he knows himself. Something's wrong. I know it.
Exactly. And then I liked when Sandy said, what do you know? It's a cop kebab. Oh my gosh, that was so funny to me.
That was awesome.
Let's see.
Yeah, hubby Joe says, Sandy, I have to deploy the USS Brownfish.
Yes. Oh, Brownfish. I'm sorry. I think I said something else, but yes, Brownfish. That is what she said. Okay. So funny.
Frank S. says, my favorite scene of the season was when Ray filled that SOB with bullets. I cheered aloud. Yeah, take that, you SOB.
Oh, yeah, I think I started laughing. I was like, I guess I'm a little dark because I thought that was like, I agree, that was like my favorite scene. He just kept shooting like, no, you are going down.
And then Utkase says, Ray went blank emptying that clip into that dude.
Oh yeah,
I thought Schmitty meant to hit him over the head, but had bad aim. Oh, okay. I think that was
that's what I think we all thought that. Yeah. Like I thought he was gonna hit him over the head too, and then I was like,
he probably did.
Well, no, I mean, I think what I don't like about Schmitty is Schmitty or whatever. He pretends to be like, oh, I'm so innocent and goofy, but remember when he was fighting with Ray, like he stomped that guy after Ray had beat him to death. So I feel like Schmitty probably meant he's a little darker than he portrays. I'll put it like that.
Is it just me or like does he remind you? He reminds me of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. The voice.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
voice.
And
So-
the hair.
and the hair. Yeah.
And that horrible haircut he has now. Like, oh my gosh.
So that's kind of like, I feel like on the outside, he portrays this like shaggy character, but then on the inside, like you said, he's got a lot of, a lot darker things going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's the only character this season that is like, I mean, I hate to say it because we're here now, but he's so LA, it makes me ill. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you're in New York City. Stop acting like you're in Santa Monica or something.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with Santa Monica. It's a great place. But he's just acting like a goofy surfer or something. Like every time I see him, I'm like, oh, you're killing me right now.
Yeah. So it's, well, we've got one more episode, maybe. Next week, we'll be talking about...
Here's hoping for the demise. I'm just joking. I don't wish any fictional character death.
Yeah. On that note,
right.
why don't we talk about some news?
AfterBuzz TV News.
Alrighty. So there's a new TV series out streaming now on Netflix called You, which I've started to watch. I'm not all the way in at the end yet, but I read the book and it's like so good. It's a show about a stalker. It's like, it's like Dexter if he was a stalker, like if he stalks people. But this character is like crazy. And so at the very end, this character, Amber Childs, she is playing Candace. And she appears, basically she's a series regular and she's going to appear in the next season of the show You on Netflix. And so if you guys don't recognize her, because actually I didn't, I had to go back and Google her. She is from the first season or two. She was, I think, from 2013 on. She's one of the clients, if you guys remember, like in I want to say maybe the very first episode, the pilot, where Ray was protecting the girl who had like the masturbator stalker in the woods or whatever. That's who she played. And she actually came back a few different times, and I think at some point she might have been Stu's ex-girlfriend or something, and Ray slept with her, and then Stu told Abby about it. So she was actually a recurring character named Ashley Rucker on the Donovan series. So she's on to bigger and better things is my point. So there you guys go.
Awesome. And then the only news I have to share is that Ray Donovan has been renewed for a season 7.
Yay!
So,
Woo!
yeah.
So he'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back.
Yeah. And it's going to be in New York again.
Oh God,
So
are they still in New York?
They're still in New York, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they should take this show on the road and go to Chicago or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's just me because I'm from
Philadelphia.
Chicago. But exactly, or Philly.
Bridget did mention going to Philly, which
They
was
could go to
funny.
Miami. There's so many things they could do. So, like,
Yeah.
they could go to Paris. Let's get some,
Yeah.
some
Might as
world
well.
intrigue going on. But okay, New
Yeah.
York is fabulous. So I wouldn't mind seeing them in New York again.
Yeah. But just to kind of wind down the show here, let's jump to our predictions.
Dun dun dun.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so now that they have Bridget back, I'm kind of like, what is there to fight about? But I feel like Ray is going to go against Sam now, because I think the whole thing when Sam knew that Bridget probably would have been killed and released the tape anyway, I do feel like Ray's not going to let that slide.
Not at all,
And is going to go against her, which means I'm guessing he's gonna team up with Mayor Ferrari. I'm thinking, because I think he really has. I mean, at this point, he has no dog in the fight anyway. Now that he got Bridget back, I feel like they should all go home. But I think Ray is gonna do something to get at Sam, and I think that Terry and Mickey are gonna somehow get caught in the crossfires.
What I'm hoping, and this is more of a hope and less of a prediction, is that Ray might try to go after Sam. I agree with that, but I also think that Ferrari working with Shoal, who he may like end up screwing him anyway, but Ferrari working with Shoal, they might go after Sam, and then it might be this like blood battle between the two of them,
right?
And then they're both destroyed. So that would be my hope. But I definitely think that the show is on at this point. I'm curious. Like, I really feel like it would be the time for Sam to be taken down. and then maybe, because especially if they've been renewed for season 7, they would, she's a really good person to have as, that antagonistic force. So I feel like that would be a great way. Like if Ray somehow does, take her down, whatever happens, season 7 could be, another kind of like revenge of Sam and her coming back into the picture and, trying to work her way back up and, mess with Ray. I'm curious, like, I feel like Mickey and Ray are actually going to end on good terms this season. So that's kind of my prediction there. Other than that, I'm thinking that Bridget will, the question is, Bridget was going to move, so I'm wondering if that's still going to happen. And then also Ray, if he's actually going to go and get help. Because that could be where the season ends too, with him checking himself into some kind of like facility, and then season 7 we open up on him after 6 months or however long he's
see, I don't know, like I don't really think he's gonna get help, because I think once he was like, here, make the call, that was like a no. But I do think it'll be interesting to see how far Terry's gonna go in his betrayal of Mickey, and if that kind of comes to fruition, or if Ray is going to find a way to save Bunchy, because I think Bunchy at this point is still in prison. And I still, in my heart, I think Ray can find some kind of way. And I think Ray originally asked them to cut him a deal, and they were going to. So maybe if, I don't know. So I don't know, you guys. What do you all think? Let us know.
Yeah, well, we have a couple comments. We have Utke asking, Frank S saying, season 7. Utke says, or Utke, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right, who will win the mayoral race? And then Frank S says he won't team up with Mayor. His people took his daughter. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he would ever team up with Ferrari, but that still doesn't mean maybe Ray will come up with a way so that he kind of works behind the scenes and gets Ferrari and Sam to basically screw each other, and it's over for both of them. So, on that note, Erika, where can everyone find you?
What's up, party people? You can find me, you can follow me on all of my social media at Erika, E-R-I-K-A-D, as in Dora Edwards. You can also catch me later on this evening. I'll be recapping and reviewing a few episodes of Real Housewives of Atlanta here on AfterBuzz at 9 p.m. And also, if you live in LA, you can catch me at Flappers Comedy Club on January 19th, doing stand-up at 7:30 p.m. in Burbank.
Awesome. And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Rach Goodman. I also host the AfterBuzz Young and the Restless soap show on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then if you are an Outlander fan, head on over there next, because we are doing the AfterBuzz recap for Outlander. Thank you guys. See you next week.
Ciao for now, folks.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.